Were you going to say something, YJ?
Yes, I was going to ask our guest all the information that she just conveyed to us. How would that be applicable to say if you're interested in finding a potential mate? How would all information that she has given, how would that play into to find a suitable mate? How would just that's the question I have.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Very good question. Well, as I mentioned last week, all major good spiritual teachings, even in more science, we say there's a scripture that says, if you ask me what you should study, I would say study self. And then once you study self and you ask me again, now what should I study? Again, I would say study self. So I would say in order to find or attract the proper mate to you, you have to really know yourself. And we're able to attract people to us, but a lot of times we can't stay in relationship because we're not allowing the whole of ourselves to be. We're not allowing the sympathetic, maybe the feminine, you know, how men were brought up so long ago and even today to be tough and to not cry and to not show their emotions. And women are kind of, you know, oh, look cute for him and say what he wants to hear, and we're so phony. And there's one teaching that I gave to my grandchildren and some other children that were with us when they were being homeschooled, when I would do my little spiritual hour with them. I taught them about fantasy love. And that's what most people are fooling with. It's a dangerous entity, fantasy love. When we get into relationships and we want to see people as we want them to be instead of how they really are. And so, and a lot of times we do that is because we're projecting something out that we would like for people to see instead of just allowing ourselves to be ourselves and allow them to accept us for what we really are. So I would suggest, as I am doing myself, is to go down deep, especially to that first chakra. I don't know how much the listeners know about the chakra system, but that first chakra, which is at the base of the spine, has to do with our, what we come into life with, our tribal consciousness, and the things we inherit from our tribe and our neighborhood and our families, and their attitudes around relationships. I like the fact that you said attract a mate or a partner and not a wife, because I have a teaching that I've been kind of breaking in slowly on people, and I talk about the goddess versus the wife, concubine, slave whore. So, I mean, there's so many things that are embedded in our subconscious that are causing chaos between the masculine and feminine as though the male and female. But that's because in our psyche, we're having confusion and chaos with the different parts of our being, in our mind and our thinking. We have a right brain and we have a left brain. And they're set up, there's a separation between the two. But they still function together if we will allow them to do so. So my suggestion would be to go back to the basics and really understand what you really like, what you desire, what you need, and what's really good for you. And then when you know that, I believe we attract that to us. Okay, Pete.
Did that help, YJ?
Oh, I was just asking. I mean, I'm not. I'm just asking the questions since they were asking any questions. So ask the question.
Well, we appreciate that. That was a good one, YJ.
It's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate question. Excuse me.
I don't know if the answer really pertained to your question, or maybe I was off in left field. I think that's
No. It was great. It was great. It was more like a rhetorical question. Wasn't it? I know you can give me a direct answer, but it was good enough. I just wanted to get a feel for that question, and you did a very good job.
All right, thanks.
And you did a wonderful job with your question, YJ. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Salvador. And now it's Alpha's turn.
Pardon me, YJ, I didn't get that one.
I said now it's Alpha's turn to call in, too.
Okay, we have a few callers. Please press 1, and that will let me know that you have a question. And then I can cue you in. We have 2 callers, 248 and 571. Please press 1, and that will let me know that you have a question. We appreciate you being here. In chat, Alpha, Doc Don, House Music Lover, India Declare, Lion's Den, and YJ. Again, our call-in number is 1-347-857-4296, and thank you so much for being here. Okay, Alpha, you've been challenged. Please call in. Okay, Dr. Sheryn, would you like to continue?
Yes. I would kind of like to know. I want to ask a question, and I'll put it out there for all the males on the call. How do you feel about there being a feminine goddess energy, and how do you feel? What do you feel you can contribute to sharing about or causing this energy to come forth so that we can have balance on the earth? Or do you feel like it's necessary? Or have you ever thought about it?
No, I have not.
So now that you think about it, you have no opinions about it one way or the other? Or you think it's off base? Because maybe there's something I can answer. If there's a question in your mind, I like to launch into the deep even. If there's a question that, you might think is a silly question. Usually those are the questions that cause us to get really deep responses. Give more deeper responses, that really may be more penetrating, especially when you're a woman. You're always trying to go easy and nurture the people you're talking to and to guide them gently into the new truth. However, sometimes it should be maybe more penetrating and more dynamic. And so I am up to the challenge. If you don't quite think this is what we should be sharing and teaching about, then I'd like to hear about that.
Well, I think it's very valuable what you are telling us, because I think the largest misconception is that both the male and female, we really don't really understand each other when we get into a relationship. So, and I think I'm trying to absorb everything that you are putting out here. But I think that the largest misconception is that we need, as men and women, we need to, I guess, to do more soul searching and get to what you're telling us is get to know each other and to learn more about the sexes so we can better appreciate one another.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And even as a woman, I need to get more in touch with my masculine energy, with the logical part of myself, and less dependent on my intuition. And now I happen to be an astrotheologian, and being certified by the International Association for Astrological Research for the last 20 years. And so I practice astrology in the spirit of understanding, because each one of us, and as I mentioned the scripture before, Ephesians 1:16. It talks about the prayer, and this prayer is what I pray for those who are coming into my environment, and that's a prayer I've been praying for years, is that we always pray to the Father and Mother of glory, that she grant us the spirit of understanding, to help us to know the hope to which we are called, to help us to know our destiny. And we do that through our birth chart. And that is a blueprint of our psyche. And our responses to our environment will come from the energies that are playing in us when we come into the light. And so when I began to study astrology, and I was told it was the spirit of understanding. If you go to Isaiah 11, it talks about the 7 spirits that we're to do everything in the earth. And it says that we don't judge by the sight of our eyes or the hearing of our ears, but in righteousness. And those spirits are also represented by the menorah in the Holy of Holies, in the temple. And those lights, and that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the 7 chakras. Those are the lights or the wheels of our energy system in our bodies. So when you understand who you are, we do have a blueprint. We have a blueprint for our children. And then you understand and you look at the area of life that is represented in what we call sometimes the clock of destiny. When you look and see what time it is and what it is that you have in your 7th house of relationships, one-on-one relationships, or it's also called the house of your closest enemies, because the scriptures say that the enemies to us are those in our own house. Well, it's not necessarily talking about our household. It's talking about our temple, our head, and the thoughts that we have a lot. And those thoughts will attract to us what we think we want. That's why we got to know what we want and not be caught up in a fantasy about such an important thing as a mate or a partner. But that is the 7th house. There's an area of life for everything. And there's 12 houses, and 12 is the number of governmental perfection. So there's a science to everything we're talking about. But most of us have been taught that to utilize the science is sin, missing the mark. But I say not to utilize any knowledge and understanding or wisdom that we give it is missing the mark. And that's why so many people are perishing now, because they've been told what they can't do when they actually should be doing the very thing that they're told they can't do. I break.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of scriptures. I was trying to keep up with them. You mentioned, I think, Ephesians 1:16. Am I correct?
16 through 26, yes.
16 to 26, and the other one was Isaiah.
Isaiah 11.
Isaiah 11. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is the whole chapter of 11?
Yes.
Okay. But a lot of this information that you are putting out there, I think is a little over the top, so that's why I'm writing some of this stuff down so I can go back and research it and absorb it before I, open my mouth and, make myself sound like a fool. But I think it's
I don't think there's anything foolish, If you whatever you say, I don't think it's foolish, because you're probably saying what someone else is thinking.